Okay, hello everyone. Good morning. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon where you're watching this. And before we start, I just want to know if I'm properly audible, if I'm properly visible. Okay, awesome. Cool. Okay, so let's get started. In fact, I'm waiting for a few more minutes for the others to join, and then we can get started. Okay. Cool. So now in this session, we are going to talk about Spring Boot. Now you have spent enough time on Spring Framework, and I just want to know your reactions on Spring Framework. How easy it is, or how useful it is. Anyone want to? I mean, I can give access to talk. Anyone who's attending the session from day one of Spring. So when you look at this framework for software development, what do you feel about it? Things you like about it, things you dislike about it. Raise your hand on Zoom if you want to share your experience on that. Anyone? Up? Okay, so Dilip is there. Dilip, now you have the access to talk. Yeah, hi Dilip, hear me?
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yeah. Good morning, Navi. Thanks to giving me chance to speak here.
Good
And
morning.
I'm working since long time in the Java, but Spring and Spring Boot is little new for me.
Okay.
And in last 1 week of training and session, Spring is amazing. Like the way I look, it's very optimized in terms of the
Mm,
object creation that we are going with the beam. Multiple objects in the real-time projects we can play with the Spring. I'm
mm,
working like I'm a professional working in the one of the IT company, and I
mm,
see in the real project Spring will change the game in terms of the development and
mm,
in terms of the real-time project when we have complexity. So this
mm,
bean and string is with the annotation. Annotation is game changer. So with the annotation, we can include many functionalities, the components, service, bean, and override many annotation. Still, like I'm learning it, but
mm,
I feel this is very useful. Ease of the development, ease of understanding to see the
mm,
relationship, and it is very helpful in the development. Even I'm working in the real-time project in the finance and fintech companies. This
mm.
is very helpful. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. So basically, what you're saying is Spring is useful to build projects, right? Where you have complex stuff and all
Yeah.
the objects will be handled by the Spring framework.
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. That's cool, Dilip. And And that's the beauty, right? So when you work on big projects, there are a lot of different features which you have to use. And in Java, whenever you say you want a new feature or if you want some entity, you always think about objects. And
Hmm.
we don't want to manage the objects. And we say, hey, Spring Framework, please, can you do that for me?
Hmm.
And it says, okay, I will do it. But then if you remember, Dilip, from last few days when you are doing this Spring coding, uh,
Hmm.
of course you can use annotations, of course you can do configuration, but don't you think you are spending a lot of time in the configuration?
No, even it's a less configuration. So
Mm,
initially, like we learn with the XML configuration, and
right.
later on it comes with the context. So it is more easy. So in
Okay.
actual Java project, there are more configurations.
Hmm.
Hmm.
That's right. So normally, most of the projects will have a lot of configuration. The reason behind it is the frameworks. They give you an option of customizing. And the moment you say customization, there is a part where configuration comes into picture.
Hmm.
That's why if you see most of the frameworks, in fact, I started my career with EJB. And in
Hmm.
EJB as well, you basically do a lot of configuration.
Hmm.
Spring came in 2003, 4, and they said, hey, we can do dependency injection, but there is a configuration. And people were okay with it to do all those XML configuration. And
Yeah.
then there was a point when they thought, hey, can we just move past XML? Can we use annotations, which will
Hmm.
reduce your work? And people were again happy. Now you don't have to write XML files for the configuration. But still, when you let's go in this way. If you're coming from other languages, let's say if you work on JavaScript or Python or PHP for that matter, or Ruby, all these
Hmm.
languages, they are famous because they attract new developers. Reason, let's say, most of the developers, they are impulsive decision takers. They are like, they went to some party, they went to some hangout with friends, and suddenly someone is talking about tech and programming, and then the other guy got motivated, and they said, hey, from tomorrow I want to be a developer. They go back home and they explore different languages to learn so that they can be a developer. So, let's say they look at Python and then they say, okay, to learn Python, you just have to install this software and just open the prompter and say, hello world, print hello world, it works. Even for building a web application like Django, Python has a framework called Django. It's very easy to build a web application, at least the front page. People get
Yeah.
motivated if they can see something initially. And most of the languages, they have a framework. So you can build a simple Hello World web application in, let's say, 10 minutes. Most of the frameworks. But Spring, on the other hand, was facing this issue where even if you want to write Hello World web application, you need to spend around 1 or 2 hours doing configuration. So creating all those configuration files and then getting the dependencies, a lot of different work.
Yeah.
And they thought we need to solve this. And of course, when you move forward with Spring Web, which is coming on the way, and if you do those configuration with normal Spring framework, the entire session will be spent only in the configuration. The next day we are going to teach you. So we don't want that scenario, right? We need something simple. Of course, Spring framework is best, but we need something on top of it which will help us to build application faster. Will you
Yeah.
love that, Philip?
Yes, Naveen.
Of course, right? Okay, so thank you so
Yeah.
much, Dilip, and let's talk about that new stuff.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so going back to the world of Spring Framework. So in Spring Framework, what we do is we achieve dependency injection. Of course, not just dependency injection, we can do a lot of different stuff. And to do anything, we need to basically do configuration. And you have done that before. But what we want to do now is we want to do the same thing, but with less configuration. And let's get started with that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an IDE. Of course, you can use any IDE which you want, but before I do that, I just want to close certain things which are open in my application or in my machine so that you will not see anything which should be secret. Um, okay, so here we go. I'm showing the entire screen. Let me know in the chat if you can see my entire screen here. Yes, awesome. Okay, so these are the Spring projects which we talked about before. And till this point, we talked about Spring Framework. Now we are going to focus on Spring Boot. Now, what is Spring Boot? Spring Boot says it takes an opinionated view of building a Spring application and gets you up and running as quick as possible. So the entire idea behind Spring Boot is how can you make application as soon as possible. In Spring Framework, you basically do a lot of configuration. Here, we don't have to do that much. Of course, you can customize your application, but it believes in convention over configuration. So here, we basically focus more conventions, what you need to do or what thing you want to achieve. So it will give default configuration and you can customize it later. Okay, so I'm going to use an ID here. Until this point, I think you were using Eclipse, everyone, if I'm not wrong. Right. Okay, so Heather basically uses Eclipse for development. I use IntelliJ. So I'm going to use IntelliJ here. Cool. Okay, now IntelliJ is one of the best IDE in the market. It is better than Eclipse. Okay, the only problem here is if you look at the IntelliJ version I'm using, if I click on About, I'm using an ultimate version here. So if you can see, it says it's an ultimate version or ultimate edition. Now, Ultimate Edition is one of the best. I mean, IntelliJ IDEA Ultimate Edition is the best IDEA in the market. There's no competition for it. Okay, it's amazing. It will help you build software faster. But the problem is it's not free. You have to pay for it. Okay, and bit costly for the new developers. But if you are someone who works for the industry, so it's a one-time investment, not one-time investment. Every year you have to renew, but it's a good investment. So if I click on pricing of this for the individual use, you can see it will charge you around $170, and that too for a year. Again, I guess next year you have to renew. If you are a student, they will give you discounts on this. So if you click on education, for learners, they give you free trials or free for 1 year. So you can try this out. So if you have a college ID, you can just try it for free. But for non-student or someone who is not studying in a college, for you, you have to purchase it. Okay. So is it the only option? Actually not. If you go to IntelliJ again, there are two versions here. So one is the ultimate version, and second is the community version. So if I click on download now, so this is the ultimate version which you have to pay for. If you go down, you have a community version as well. Okay. Now, what's the difference between the ultimate version and the community version? Uh, First of all, if you want to create a Spring project, in the ultimate version, you will get the option of creating it directly, but not in the community version. And there are a lot of different features like debugging features and stuff, which is better in the IntelliJ version or the ultimate version. Also, if you want to explore database tables and stuff, it is available in the ultimate version. And even you can compare. There should be an option of comparing these two versions. Do you have a comparator here somewhere? No. Okay. So you can use ultimate version, provided you have a student ID. And yeah, for the student, I think they have the same feature, which is for everyone. But if you don't want to pay for it, you can still use community version. In this machine, I don't have the community version. Unfortunately, I only have the ultimate version because this is my development machine, not my trading machine. Um, okay, just a second. I need to promote Heather. Yeah. In Eclipse, will these features will be available? Yes. In Eclipse, basically you use something called STS. STS is a layer on top of Eclipse, so you have all the features by default. So Eclipse is free, and it's one of the best IDE, but not better than IntelliJ, but it's free, right? So one of the USP of Eclipse is it has everything and free. IntelliJ IDEA, it has everything, better than Eclipse, but it is paid, right? So that's the only difference. Cool. So you can use ultimate version or you can use community version. So I will show you in ultimate version because I don't have the community version, but I will do in a such a way that you can do that in community version as well. Okay, or in Eclipse. Okay, so let's head back to creating a simple Spring Boot project. Now, how do we do that? So let me click here and let's go to our favorite website, which is, or I mean, you're not aware about it. So what I will do is I will just go back to IntelliJ IDEA. And as I mentioned before, you will see an option of creating a project in the ultimate version. So this is the ultimate version and I will, okay, just a second. I need to make Heather the host. Heather, check now if you got the prompt. You know what, Heather? I started the class and someone was saying, hey, where is Heather? Okay, I'm not sure if Heather can hear me. Um,
Hello, sir. Good morning. Good morning, every one of you.
hey, hi, good morning. People were missing you here, Heather.
Uh, and anyway, I'm back, sir.
Awesome. Okay, so let
They
me
want me
create,
to use this IntelliJ idea. Many of the students, and I prefer to use Eclipse and STS because they are free.
right.
So let's see.
Yeah. In fact, I have used Eclipse for a long, long time. Yeah, Daniel, I don't have the community version in this machine, but I will show you how do we open that in community version. Okay, so let me click on new project and let's create a new Spring Boot project. So remember, this time we are not creating a normal Spring project. We are creating a boot project. Now in IntelliJ IDEA Ultimate version, you will see an option of creating a Spring Boot project directly. So you have an option here, which is Spring Boot, and you can name your project. You can specify which language you're using. So basically in Spring, you can use Java, Kotlin, Groovy, but we are using Java here. And the type is Maven, because till this point we are focusing on Maven. You can specify the group ID, you can specify the artifact ID, package name, the Java version, and packaging jar. And you can click on next and you can create a project. Example, if I click on new, now when I click on new, it will create a project for you. So I will simply say this is demo test. And if I click on next, it will give you an option. First of all, this is a Spring Boot version. You can see there are different versions here. Always use a version which is not having any label to it. Example, these are the snapshot version. This is not having any label, so you can use that, which is latest. It's also better to use something which is not the latest, okay? Because in latest, you might have some issues or not. So if you are working in development, they prefer to use the second last version, not the latest version. But since we are into learning phase, we can even choose snapshot or this. You know what happens if you choose a snapshot version and if you are building something, if something goes wrong, as a learner, you have no idea. Is it your mistake or the software mistake? Now, since we are working for a long time, now we know what is the mistake of the IDE or the uh, the version issue or our issue. But if you're new to Spring Boot and if you face an issue, you will be confused. What is the issue? So safe to be not using any labeled. Okay, then you can see it says it gives you an option of dependencies. Now, what is dependencies? See, by default, when you create a Spring Boot project, and if you don't select anything, it will give you a simple Spring Boot project. You can do dependency injection. But what if you want to create a web project? In that case, you have to say web. Okay, and you have to select Spring Web here. What if you want to work with the database, like Postgres? So you can say Postgres, and you can select the driver for it. What if you want to work with security? So you can search for security and you can select Spring Security. What else we can add here? Let's say if you want to work with MongoDB, so you can type Mongo and you can select this one. So basically the idea is whatever feature you want to add in your project, just search here and you can add. What this will do is this will add the dependency in the POM file. Okay. And when you click on create, it will create a project for you. And yeah, voila, this is your Spring Boot project. Fancy stuff, right? It is so easy to get a Spring Boot project. But the problem is you can't do this in the community version. This feature of creating a Spring Boot project is available only in the community version. But what if you are using a community version? So let me show you how do we do that in the community version. So let me close the project and let's start again. If I click on new project, you can see it's before you enter any details here. On the top, can you see something? It says server URL. In the server URL here, it says start.spring.io. Let's head back to this website. So if I click here, you can see it is taking you to this Spring initializer. Okay, so if you don't have the ultimate version, if you have a community version, you can create your Spring Boot project from here. And not just for community version, if you're using Eclipse or VS Code, so it doesn't matter which IDE you use, you can create your project from here and just open in your IDE. Is it making sense, Daniel, now? Okay. So now, first we'll select the project type, which is Maven. Language is Java. The Spring Boot version, we have discussed about it. It is 3.3.5. The group ID, I will say group ID is com.telisko. And the project name is first Spring Boot example. And you will set the packaging as jar and the Java version 21 because that's what I have in my machine. I just want to verify. What's wrong? Yeah, so I got 21, so I will just use that. And do I want to add a dependency? I can, so I can click on add dependency. The same thing which we have done in the ultimate version. And you can specify the version here. On Eclipse, there should be an option of creating a Spring Boot project. If you don't have the option, then create the project from start.spring.io and then just open the project. Or just type the things in the browser, start.spring.io, this ID. Okay, so I will just use it in libraries. Example, if I want to use Lombok, I can simply say Lombok. Yeah, in Eclipse, you have to basically install the plugin for STS. Okay, so whatever dependency you need, if you need H2, you can do that. If you need Postgres, you can do that. So whatever dependency you need, you can add that. But at this point, I'm not going to add a dependency. I will click on Explore. When you click on Explore, it will give you a project structure here on the left-hand side, and it will give you the POM file. So you can see in the POM file, we are adding only 2 dependencies. One is Spring Boot Starter, and second is Spring Boot Starter Test. This is for the testing. Even if you remove testing, though there's no issue. So by default, you will get only one. Okay. So once you have explored it, I will click on Generate. And when you click on Generate, you will get the project here. So you will open this, unzip it, and that's done. Unzipping done. But the question is where it went. Yeah, it's here. So you can say this is the project which you got from start.spring.io. And now you can open this project from any IDE. Akash, yeah, you can add dependencies after as well. So the same way we do it on the see, it's ultimately the Maven project, right? So in the Maven project, you can add dependency anytime you want. And if you want dependencies, you can just go to MVN repository and you can get it, right? Okay, so let's open this in the IntelliJ IDEA now. So I will just go to IntelliJ IDEA, and instead of creating a new project, let's open the project. So you can see there's an option of open, and I will head to downloads. That's the project I want to open. So I will just click on open, and yeah, so you got your project. So either you can create from the IDE or you can create from the start.spring.io. So for me, it doesn't matter which IDE I use. Even if I'm using Ultimate version, I prefer to create it from here, because this will be always updated with the latest stuff. Might be IntelliJ IDEA will be a bit slow in updating their UI, but this is always on top. So there are some documentations as well. And plus in start.spring.io, they also give you a button of explore, where you can explore the dependencies and what files it gives you. So it's a better layout or better option than from the IDE. Okay, now once you got your project, you can just go back here. And this project basically runs in the first go. You don't have to do any configuration. So if I click on run here, as you know, as you have seen, I have not done any configuration. Just run the project and you can see this beautiful thing here, and it said started. Okay, there's just one thing with Java, with Spring 3, Spring Boot 3. Okay, just I want to mention one more thing. As you can see, we are using Spring Boot 3 version here, right? So it starts with 3. So this Spring Boot 3. Now Spring Boot 3 is dependent on Spring 6. So behind the scene, so even if you're using Spring Boot, behind the scene, you are using Spring Framework, okay? So Spring Boot is on top, and on the bottom, you have Spring Framework. Now, for Spring Boot 3, the dependency is Spring 6, okay? And to show you that, let me go back to the project. And if I expand these external libraries, and if you scroll to Spring Framework, look at the version for Spring Framework. So if you see Spring Context here, the version is 6.1.14. So Spring Boot 3 needs Spring 6. Okay. And Spring 6 needs Java 17 minimum. Does that make sense? Okay. In fact, there should be option here as well, right? And if you can see, there's no Java 11 option here for this. Okay, where is my Zoom chat? I can't see Zoom chat. It's here. Okay, now let's achieve dependency injection. But before that, let's explore what is written here. So in the Spring Boot project, it says we have by default get the main file. In this, it says it's a Spring Boot application, right? And in the main, we are running this. But what is this? Let's talk about this in some time. So basically what it's doing, it is running your Spring Boot application. But what it is returning, we'll discuss that in some time. What I want to do is I want to achieve dependency injection. Okay. Example, let's say if I have a class here, which is, let's say alien, or maybe let's say dev, okay, developers. So I have a developer class, and in this, I have a method. Let's say method name is build, and I'm saying, is the font visible everyone, or should I increase the font size a bit? It's fine, right? Okay, perfect. Maybe I will just say it's already 125%. Okay, so you can see I have a method called building, which says building awesome project. Okay, and now let's go back to our main application. So everyone tell me, if I want to call this build, what is the thing I need to do here? Quick. Yeah, so basically we need to create the object of dev, right? So we can simply say dev obj equal to new dev, and we can simply say obj.build. Our job is done. Let's run this, and you should see an option of building an awesome project. Our job is done. But hey, hold on. We are using Spring, so this is not a way. We don't want to create the object by ourselves, right? We want Spring to give me the object. Now question arises, how will get the object? Of course, you have to inform your Spring framework, hey, Spring, I want the object of dev. And the way you can do that is by creating an XML file or by creating a what? The Java config class, right? Yeah. So there are multiple ways of doing that. Now, Spring Boot makes your work easy. You just have to go back on top of your dev and say it's a component. And by writing that statement, Spring knows that you have to create the object. So what I will do is I will just comment this. Just by writing this thing here, add component, Spring will create the object of it. And how do we know that the object is getting created? Let's create a constructor, Every time you create the object, we'll call the constructor. So I will say dev object created. And now let's run this. And voila, can you see that it says dev object created? No configuration needed, whatever, zip, no configuration. Is it beautiful? Okay. But how do we get the object of dev? It is created, that's awesome. So in your container, basically you do have the object, but how do you get it? Something like, I want the object to get it, right? So this should be there. So normally we have done that before. So you can simply use application config or context or bin factory, and you can say the object of app context, and you can say get bin, and you can specify, hey, I want the object of dev class, and this should work, right? But unfortunately, it says, what is this? What is app context? So you can say, hey, this is actually the object of application context. So that's my app context equal to, oh, how do we get the object here of application context? This is tricky. Anyone want to help me here? How do we create the object of application context? Right? Okay, so we have multiple ways. If you are using XML, so you basically use new class path XML application context. And if you're not, if you're using something else, you can say annotation config. Okay, where is that? So you can use annotation config application context. So ultimately you have to use some other class, right? Okay, but then if you create new class application context, in the bracket you have to specify the XML file, right, everyone? Okay, so when you say, this is tricky. So when you use new class path, you have to get XML file. And from start, we are saying we don't want to get the configuration, right? On the other hand, if you use annotation, you have to pass the Java config class. So how do we break this barrier? And to do that, let's go back on top. This line must be doing something, right? So basically what it does is it creates that Spring container for you, okay? And not just creating it, if you click on run, see what it returns. The run method, and if you observe it clearly, if you say, if say Spring application dot run, and what this run does is run returns you the object of configurable application context. Can you see that? And this stuff extends application context. I mean, that's good, right? So this run returns an object of application context. That's what I wanted. Right, everyone? And our job is done. Once you do that, just run this and voila, you can see it says building awesome project, dependency injection without any configuration. This is the beauty of Spring Boot. You like it now, Spring Boot? Yeah. So the entire idea behind Spring Boot is, it is Spring Framework, but it just made Spring Framework simple and our life easier. Now you can do whatever you can do in Spring Framework inside Spring Boot. And how? That will be continued by Heather. Okay, so Heather, I'm making you the host now.
Thank you, sir. All right.
And thank you for giving me some time to speak about Spring Boot.
It was important, sir.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. See you in the next section.
Thank you, sir. Thanks so much. All right. So guys, as earlier also we had discussed, I have been telling from the day one of the classes, Spring Boot, is it a new framework? No. Easier way to use Spring framework is Spring Boot. Fine. That by default you will get SP, because any shortcuts and other tricks cannot be learned by someone teaching you. That will come by you writing the code and applying it. Okay. Eventually going forward, you will get that. Spring Boot, Spring Framework, Spring Framework plus auto configuration is equal to Spring Boot. Now, directly in the day one of class, if I would have created the Spring Boot project, you could have never understood how Spring Framework works. So last 3 classes, what we have understood is we just try to understand how generally a Spring Framework works. What is the real funda of Spring Framework? Now, if we create Spring Boot, when we have told that automatically it is only giving us application context, we could understood what it is giving us. That means it is only creating the IOC container. That's the meaning of it, right? So these all things you can understand only if you have understood the Spring Framework. Spring Framework plus manual configuration, if you have understood, then only you can understand Spring Framework plus auto configuration. So Spring Boot, is it a new framework? No, it is a Spring Framework plus some extra features to make our life easy, right? So which is the current latest Spring Boot framework in the industry? It is Spring Boot 3. Very often there is a confusion. Spring Framework 6 or 3. Spring Boot 3. Internally, it will use the latest Spring Framework, which is Spring 6. So guys, this in the interview also they may trick you. It is Spring Boot 3 and Spring Framework 6. Tick mark. Is it digestible? Everyone? What is the demand of Spring Boot 3 or Spring 6? Which is the minimum Java version? Java 17. This also interview ask question just to check your observation. Digest this concept. It is Java 17. Now the beauty of Java programming language is Java supports backward compatibility. That means Java never forces its developer to learn the new feature because the default will remain same. Example, if Java 17 is running in the industry, you are aware of Java 8. Can you still work with Java 17 version? Yes. Because Java supports backward compatibility. That means whatever features were there till Java 8, that features will not get affected. That will remain as it is. Apart from that, they have just added a new features, and it's up to developer whether developer want to learn that new feature or developer no want to learn that new feature. Developer has the complete control over it. Yeah. How about Spring Boot? Will it support Java 8? It will support Java. See, Spring Boot 3 internally uses Spring 6, right? So both of them are internally, it's not a new framework. I have been shouting, Suresh. It's not something very different. Internally, it uses Spring 6 only. So internally, if it uses Spring 6, it is also, but that is what I'm telling here, Suresh. You have not listened to me. Again, I'll repeat, please listen to me. Even though it is demanding Spring Boot 3 or Spring 6, it is demanding Java 17. But you are aware till Java 8. Will there be any problem is what I'm trying to say. No. Why? Because Java language supports backward compatibility. In Java 17 also, whatever features are there from Java Alpha, Beta, Java 1 version till Java 8 version, that will remain same. Extra features, whether you want to learn or you don't want to learn, it's up to you. Are you getting it? Everyone in the class? So guys, even in future, it demands Java 23. You don't know all the features of Java. Will there be any problem? No. Even today, some of them in the industry don't use Lambda expression, which came in long back 2016. People are not using Lambda expression 8 years. Will their projects get affected? No. Let them go with anonymous inner class and the normal usual implements keyword. It will not affect their, applications. So what I'm trying to say is Java is a beautiful language. One of the major reason is one of the other, so many reasons are there. It supports backward compatibility. So if there is a new feature, it's up to developer whether they want to adapt or they don't want to adapt. Even if they don't adapt, it's up to them. Whatever they have already learned, that will remain same. The way we used to create a class in Java in Java 1 version, it is same in Java 23 latest version. This is how we create the class. Whether it is a Java 1, Java 2, Java 3, Java 17, Java 23. How we create classes in Java? This is how we create the classes. So will it have any major change? No. Is it making sense, every one of you? All of you present in the class? Now, question to everyone in the class. Which is the latest Spring Boot version? Which everyone must learn? 3. And which is the latest Spring framework? 6. And it demands which is the minimum Java version to be there? Is that fine? No, Java 17. Great. 3 ways are there to create the projects, guys. Number 1, IDE support. IDE, see, to create the Spring Boot project, first of all, in general, Spring Boot project, if you want to create, you have to go with Spring Initializer. Spring Initializer. That means start.io.spring. This is the only way you have to go. Some of the IDEs internally will have this Spring Initializer to create the Spring Boot projects. Example, Spring Tool Suite, IntelliJ IDEA. Spring Tool Suite, IntelliJ IDEA has an option to create the project of Spring Boot directly from the IDE. Spring Eclipse, we don't have a. In Eclipse, there is an advantage. What is the advantage? In the Eclipse, you can integrate STS. If you have integrated STS in your Eclipse, then you can do the same. STS and Eclipse looks wise 95% same. That means if you have already used Eclipse IDE for any of the projects, STS you will not see something different. It looks same only. Some extra features are there. It is lightweight. Eclipse is little heavy weighted. That's the only difference. Looks wise, the way it will work, the UI integration, the way to navigate, all of them 95% remain same. So if you have already used Eclipse, to use STS, do you need to put some extra efforts? Not needed. That means if I have STS, can I create Java and everything? Yes, whatever you can do in Eclipse, you can do in STS also. So if you have Spring Tool Suite, if you have IntelliJ IDEA, directly from the IDE itself, you can create Spring Boot project. Fine. If you have Eclipse, not possible. But if you have integrated Eclipse in your, STS in your Eclipse, then you can do that. There is no problem. All of that we will see to it. We need not to worry. But usually what approach I also follow is to go to the website start.spring.io. This is the usual approach because it is universal. Irrespective of the IDE which you are using, doesn't matter. It will help you to create the project. Start.spring.io. Okay. If I have to go this Spring Initializer, it is universal and it is the latest. This is recommended because IDs might change. You might use Eclipse, STS, IntelliJ IDEA, NetBeans, whatever you feel like, doesn't matter. You can create the project from here. It is one of the good approach. However, we will see all the approaches in our classes. Now, guys, Maven project, Java. Gradle is also there. Are we going to learn Gradle also? This is one of the build tool, which is a competitor of Maven. But the difference which you will see, Maven is only for Java. Maven build tool is made only for Java stack. Gradle for Kotlin also, for Groovy also, for the other almost 4 to 5 projects, you can go with the Gradle build tool. Java also it is there. It is more than one, which we will see going forward. Okay. So Maven, Java, I'm using latest stable Spring version, Spring Boot version. Snapshot means they're still in the updates. If you use, then there might be adding something, they might be slowing. What if this site is down? Do we have any alternative? If the site is down, you can never create Spring Boot projects. Because even if the IDE option is available, in the IDE also internally they uses this only. So you directly using this or indirectly using this. If you are creating from the IDE, IDE is using start.spring.io. If not, you are directly using it. So directly using it, or indirectly using it, it is this only. If it is not there, then you cannot create Spring Boot projects. Fine, everyone? All of you? Yes, no, maybe. So guys, Maven, Java, latest version, I will say com.telesco. And I'll go ahead and say Spring Boot 0. Spring Boot 0. 01. Jar. What is the difference between jar and var? I will tell in the classes because it is interview ask question. What is the difference between jar and var? Okay. I will use this. No, I have not added any dependency. In Spring Boot, the default basic Spring Core dependency is there. No, by default, that will be added. You need not to put some extra efforts there. By default, that will be added in the Spring Boot. Spring Core is default. For extra modules, you have to add the dependencies. I will say here, generate the project. It will be downloaded in your downloads, guys. I'll open the Eclipse. Do we have to install STS separately with the Eclipse? In the Eclipse only, there is a help Eclipse marketplace. From there, you can install. Okay, STS, you can add the plugin in the Eclipse ID. If not, you can have a separate again, you can delete the Eclipse. Can we create simple Maven project and then add the Spring Boot parent dependent? No, you cannot do, Anil. Spring Boot is a default. Then what is the advantage of Spring Boot project, Anil? What is the advantage of Spring Boot framework if you have to do that manually? There is something called as first class of Spring Boot, which I will show you here. Guys, then after downloading in your downloads, what to do is the next question. Everyone please see here. All of you present in the class. Which is the folder in the D drive in my local system? There is a folder called as finishers. I will take the project from the downloads. Wherever I have there now, downloads, it is downloaded. I will copy the project from the downloads. I will go back in my local system. Wherever this workspace is there now, I will go back there. Finishers. I will paste it. You can see here, I have added that project. Spring Boot 01. It is in the form of zip file. Zip file is there. I will right click. Extract the project. The project is extracted. Entire project is extracted. You can see here, it is extracted now. Okay, now? Everyone? After extracting file, import the project. Import which project? I'll go to the Maven. There is something called as existing Maven project. That means that is created, right? We are not creating a new project. Existing Maven project. Next, I will browse where that project is present. That project is present in the D value inside in the D drive inside this finisher. I had extracted one project, Spring Boot 01. I will select this. I will say finish. It looks lengthy, but nothing is there. From the downloads, go back to your own workspace, extract it and import it in your ID. That's it. It is just extracting and importing. Nothing apart from that. Okay. Because by default, it will be downloaded in your download folder. But you are using which folder? Finisher folder. Copy your folder, project from downloads and paste it in the finisher. Extract it and import it in your ID. Okay. You can see, guys, Spring Boot is ready. All of you. See, in my local system where I'm taking this class, Java 14 is available. Still okay with it. It is not creating any error. Internally, Spring Boot uses Spring 17. That's it. Okay. All the dependencies have been added, guys. These dependencies, did I add it, guys, in the pom.xml? Did I added all these things? Did I add it? No, I have not added. It is there by default. There is something called as application.properties. For all the application configuration, we have this file. Database configurations, web configurations, everything you have to write within this. What is the significance of application.properties? And we also have an option of application.yaml file. What is the difference between YAML file and dot property file? It is interview ask question again. Why we have that and what is the difference between dot properties file and dot YAML file? About that also I'll discuss. I'll go back here, guys. What did I say in the yesterday's class and what did you saw in the previous program, guys? Didn't I say that if you go with Spring Boot, we need not to activate the IOC container manually? Yes or no? Guys, most of the project I had copy pasted. You have not faced that much of kick. But usually you had to add the Maven dependency in the pom.xml. Correct? You had to activate and create the IOC container. You have to create application config.xml file. Did I do anything here? Did I do anything here? Nothing. Internally, it will only create the run method present inside the static method, run method present inside this class will create IOC container for us. We need not to take care of it. It will only create the IOC container. How about the component scanning? Guys, in the annotation approach, in the XML also, we have done the component scanning, right? Everyone? And in the Java configuration also, have you not done component scanning? Annotation approach, if all of you could able to remember, yes or no? By using this. But this one annotation is there, no? Spring Boot application annotation. Spring Boot application annotation. This one annotation is equal to component scan also. Component scan also. Because this is the annotation which we have used behind the scene. And I will go with auto configuration also. Because if you have watched my videos of annotation which we have discussed in our core Java, if I have to open this, see here, open the declaration. Kindly see here, guys. At the top of this, don't we have component scan by default? Yes, no, maybe. Enable auto configuration. Enable auto configuration. Both of them are there. Yes, no, maybe. Everyone present in the class. So what I'm trying to say here is, you need not do that. Guys. Then how it will decide which pack is the base package? In the Spring Boot project, if you remember, guys, in the Spring Boot project, at the time of project creation, are you not specifying it? The group, that it will be the base package. Whatever you specify here. The package name is there, no? com.risco, that is the base package. This is the base package. This entire is the base package. If I create anything, if I create any classes outside this package, now if you have understood the last two classes, tell me, will it consider by the Spring IOC container? Will it? All of you are there with me? Both of them are same. Artifact name is equal to project project name Deepti, and the group is same as the package name, foldering, giving a uniqueness. Both of them are same. So guys, in the Spring Boot, do we need to specify that we are going to use annotation approach in XML file or in the Java config file in the Spring Boot, first of all? Do we even have to tell Spring Framework that we are using annotation approach? Do we even have to tell that we are using Spring annotation approach? Nothing. Just to create the project, start working. Apart from this, there are other advantages. This is one of the basic advantages you have seen. Going forward, you will see in the web application, embedded servers are there. If you watch the servlet videos, how difficult to add the server manually, then deploy the project, all that is not needed in the Spring Boot. Embedded servers are there. Embedded databases are there. H2 in-memory database is available. One of the advantages, actuators. In the Spring RESTful application, the concept of ATOs, there are so many list of advantages of the Spring Boot. and which we will see practically one by one. And at the end, I'll give you a good summary, because in the interview they'll ask how Spring Boot is superior than the Spring. You have to say Spring Boot uses Spring framework only. It is not a new. However, it supports auto configuration. It simplifies usage of Spring framework and some external features. That's the Spring Boot. Fine. Now, many of them, with due respect to all of them, I have seen many Udemy paid courses which are in lakhs. YouTubers, many of them are trying to teach the Spring framework directly with the Spring Boot, starting from the Spring Boot. That means initially you will get to know what is component, all of that they're trying to explain. But that understanding of the framework is adjustment plus understanding. You have to adjust. Oh, this is there. Why? How this works? That ecosystem, you'll never get the complete picture. What is the funda of Spring framework? You'll never get that picture only. Some part of sacrifice you have to do, some part of adjustment you have to do. And I hate that. That is the reason initial 3-4 classes I had focused on the Spring core without boot. Now, when I have told this, everyone understood everything. I have just created the project number 1. All of you understood the magic of Spring Boot. All of you by default understood the base advantage of the Spring Boot without me or Naveen sir saying anything. All of you are there? Yes, no, maybe. Like, you have understood by default what is that auto configuration means. I need not to say anything, right? You could understood like, oh, auto configuration. You got the entire picture of Spring Boot, that how easy it is, how beneficial it is. Fine. Now I'll go and create the other packages. I will create the other packages. I'll give the name of the packages dot services. Guys, can I create other packages by ignoring this base package? Can I create other packages by ignoring the base package? Can I do that, guys? I cannot do that. Right? Everyone? Because that is the because default scanning is there. Component scan, are you using manually or it is default? This time I don't have a control of component scan. It is default. I'll go and create one interface, guys. I'll create an interface called as iGreetings. iGreetings. Within this, I'll specify what I want. I'll say here, maybe string type of generate wish by taking some name, string type of name. I'll go back and create one implementing class. I'll create a class. I will say a greeting service, which is implementing one interface called as iGreeting. iGreetings. I will say a finish. Okay, great. I will say here, guys, local time dot now. After which I will just take up this. I will say here local time equals to this. It's already there by default, guys. Now the same logic which we have done in the last class. Okay, if in case time, or maybe I'll collect it the time. Guys, I myself is creating the object of time object. Is it recommended in the Spring ecosystem? Is it recommended in the Spring ecosystem, guys? Can I create one config class? Usually create in the different packages if you want. I'll create one package called as config package. Within the config package, I will say here, configuration is the name of the class. Could you please suggest me the stereotype annotation? Guys, when Naveen sir was asking about the annotation, what I have to do here, none of you responded. It's like when teacher is teaching and principal comes for the rounds. Teacher has taught everything. When the principal comes to the rounds, students are silent. When Naveen sir was creating the project, he was asking what to do here. None of them have responded except one or two told bean. Have you not learned annotation approach, guys? telling me configuration. When Naveen sir asking me how should I do this, people are responding. Bean, two, three of them bean, rest of them are silent. No, what I'm trying to say is you should have responded, na? Because you have understood that, right? And guys, let's act like a family. Like we both, like all of us are learning, not like a tutor or a learner. It should be like developers learning something together. That should be the approach. And doing the projects together. And it should be in coordination. Like you expect something to teach me, openly tell that I am expecting this also. Let's have a, it should not be mono, right? It should be two-way. And let's create a groups, let's create a group projects. Let's have that kind of understanding. If 5-10 days course extends, will I or you lose us anything? None of us loses, right? So let's let's learn in that way, okay? After which, guys, I will say here public local time, create time is a method name. Whatever method name you want, you can do. I'll say return local time. Local time dot now is a new syntax, is what someone has told that he's using something and all, he's not explaining. In the core Java, we have learned it. Please watch the core Java videos. It is available. Local time, local date, whatever I'm using now. This is one of the way to create the time and date object in the latest Spring framework. I mean, sorry, in the latest Java versions. Please watch the Java videos. It is there in the core Java section. Okay. You will be seeing, able to see that in the recorded also. Guys, I will say here bean. Now tell me, guys, is it available with the Spring IOC container? Is it available? It is available. I'll go back here. Do I need to create here? No. I will just create here private, local, time. And can I say here, guys, which annotation I have to use? Please tell me, everyone. Could you please tell me the annotation name? Auto. Do I need to use qualifier primary, guys? Any need of that? No. Now, guys, can I say here time dot get hour? It will give me an hour. It will give me an hour, which I will collect it here. That R, it is integer type of R. And I'll check if in case R is the same business logic, guys. Okay, this is our business logic. If the R is less than 12, I will return. Maybe good morning. I will say here good morning plus whatever name they forward. That name I will add. Okay. I will say else if same goes. Okay. Else if the R is less than 16, my dear friends, it is good afternoon. Basic business logic. It could be any application. If it is 20, I will say good evening. Okay. Else I will say return good night. I will say good night plus name. Any ambiguity to anyone with respect to this business logic, guys? No ambiguity, right? As a Java developer, you should be knowing about these business logics. No confusion. Could you please tell me one of the stereotype annotation which I can apply in this class, guys? What suitable stereotype annotation suggest me? Good answers. Right now, these things, are they default, guys? Using these annotations, auto-wide, qualifier, are they in your default mind? I need not to say anything about it. Directly I can use it. Or anyone can use it in your projects. That should be the learning approach. Greetings service being created. All right. Great, guys. After which I'll go back to my Spring Boot. If you want that container, I will collect here. Give me one container. It will only give the container, which is from the family of application context. I'll open this, guys. Open the declaration. If I open the declaration, it is an interface. Who's the parent of this configurable application context, guys? Who's the parent of this? Context. All of you present in the class, yes, no, maybe. I'll go back. I'll get it from the container. Did I create it, guys? No, nothing you have to do. In your Spring Boot, container dot, get me a bean. Get me a bean. Which bean I want? I will say here, give me a bean. Directly interface name also you can specify, guys, because implementing class automatically will be added. Directly this also you can say, both of them are referring to same. I'll go back here, dot class, and I will collect it back. I will collect it back with the reference as greet. It will give me a greet. Guys, initially for the next 10 days, I will use the main method. After 10 days, I will never use the main method because we are going to introduce the web layer. Once you have web layer, controller layer, then you will have either the controller class, the front end is theme leaf, HTML, JSP. If not, it is REST APIs. So in the real time, main method and all will not be there. It is about the APIs, RESTful services, REST APIs will be there. So it's all about the APIs and you have to make a call to a particular endpoint, then the application should behave. So that should be our approach, okay? I will say here, greet dot. I will invoke this method. This will give us something. I'll say one thing here, example, SciG, for example, because whatever name is there in front of me, I'm just taking that. I will take here string type of status and that I will print on my console. I will say here status. Most of the concepts I'll explain by getting into the REST APIs part because that is something important we have to reach there. Once we reach there, many things we'll understand. I'll right click, run as Java application. If it is STS or IntelliJ IDEA, you'll get an option of Spring Boot application. Both of them are same. If I run this, guys, you can see. What is this? If you ask me, this is loggers. This is logging concept. Okay. In the YouTube channel of Naveen sir also, I have uploaded the video on logging. If there is a time, you can watch it. Maybe not now, after some classes of Spring Boot. You will understand that better. Okay. This is a logging concept. And you can see, guys, config bin is also created. Greeting service bin created. And good morning, Saiji. Because current time is morning in India, in my local time. So it is good morning. All of you are okay with it? Yes, no, maybe, dear friends. Now, I have one question to every one of you. We have pure XML approach. We have bit of XML, but most of that is annotation approach. Then we have pure Java configuration plus annotation approach. Java config and annotation approach. And then we have Spring Boot approach. Spring Boot approach means default it is annotations only. Annotations only. So out of the 4 approaches, we have seen all 4 approaches. Which is the easiest approach to work with Spring framework, guys? It is none other than Spring Boot. This is the easiest approach. Since you and I, all of us together, came to a conclusion that Spring Boot is the easiest approach, and in the industry also, in the real time in the industries also, 95% of the projects are on the Spring Boot. So we are going to learn from today, coming all the classes in the Spring Boot approach. Then when we have announced this batch, the common question in the comments in everywhere was, why not Spring Boot? Why Spring Framework? Why not Spring Boot? Why Spring Framework? They don't even know the funda of it. So we are going to learn Spring Boot only, right? So learning Spring Boot means, is it not learning Spring Framework? It is learning Spring Framework only. I hope all of you are able to understand. Yeah. So we are going to learn all the modules in the Spring Boot. Now, what is a control flow? What is a roadmap is what I want to teach you. Okay. Some more fundamentals are there. Life cycle and all. I will discuss the life cycle of a bean. Common interview ask question. Life cycle of a bean. Then the next application which I am going to develop here, guys, whatever you have seen the core Java, same I will develop just to give you an ecosystem. After which JDBC I will use as it is. JDBC I will use as it is. I will integrate that with the Spring framework. Then there is a module called as Spring Data JDBC. One special module is there. Data JDBC. I will use that. Then I'm going to discuss Spring Data JPA. Data JPA. Data JPA, we are going to have a detailed discussion. We are going to understand about the CRUD repository, JPA repository, then paging and sorting. Then we are going to discuss about the Mongo repo, because I have to show you how Spring Boot and MongoDB works. It is not always relational databases. In the projects, NoSQL databases are also used. So it is my responsibility. I have to teach you both SQL and NoSQL databases. In the SQL databases, in-memory database H2 we are going to use, MySQL we are going to use, and Postgre we are going to use. Postgre. And in the NoSQL, we are going to use MongoDB. Okay, now? So all of this will be taught, and custom queries, custom finder methods, default methods, in detailed discussion on this module we'll be having. Now, before I get into this, what is the prerequisite? On your course dashboard, JDBC videos are there and Hibernate videos are there. I want you to watch these videos. Before this, watch some 10-15 SQL videos also. Now, if you have a time, I want you to practice also. Suppose you don't have a time to practice, at least with complete focus, watch entire JDBC and Hibernate series in 1.5x speed. Whenever you watch a video in the Discord dashboard, you have an option to speed up. 1.5x speed, complete all the videos of JDBC and Hibernate with focus, just to understand the ecosystem, how JDBC and Hibernate works. Because to understand these two modules, you should know JDBC. To understand Spring Data JPA, you should know Hibernate, because behind the scenes, Spring Data JPA uses Hibernate. I have to show you this. If I have to open this, guys, if I have to add this dependency, Data JPA, persist data in SQL stores with persistence API using Spring Data and Hibernate. So Hibernate, you're not going to use separately. Internally, it uses Hibernate, internally behind the scene. To understand this module better, which is very hot in the market, you have to watch the videos of Hibernate. If you don't have a time to practice, okay, no problem. In future, sometimes if you have a time, please practice. But for now, at least watch and understand the how Hibernate ecosystem works, how JDBC ecosystem works. Both the videos are available in the course dashboard. So can I expect this, guys, before making it to Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday's class? Can I expect from all of you? Can I tick mark as a prerequisite? Everyone in the class, please watch it. Now, guys, this discussion will go on for a minimum of 8 to 10 classes. After this, I'm going to start with Spring MVC. Spring Web MVC, where we will discuss how to develop the application C2B, where the front end is JSP, HTML, CSS, HTML, CSS, and theme leaf. We will understand about all the three layers: controller, service, and the DAO layer. Layered approach development properly we'll understand, we'll develop one project. Then we are going to understand about RESTful services, which is REST API development. In the REST API development, we are going to understand many things, all the principles of REST APIs, how to create the controllers, all the important annotations, right? And the associated concept which we are going to learn here is how to document an API using the Swagger. We'll understand about the actuators. We'll understand about the HATEOS concept. After the basics, then how to one API can talk to another API, REST template and web client. REST template, web client. How to interact or enable communication between two APIs. We'll understand about the Apache Kafka. We'll understand about how to integrate your Spring Boot application with the Redis server, Redis cache server. What's the need of caching? How to connect your Spring Boot with the Redis server. That also we have to see. And we'll connect one real API, payment gateways or some WhatsApp or Instagram, something we'll try to connect it with our using the REST template and web client. How to one API can talk to another API. We will develop the APIs for the others to use. Then we will use the APIs which someone else has developed. Both we have to see. You should be in a position to develop the APIs. You should be in a position to use the APIs which someone else has developed already. We have to see about it, right? Then how to integrate if the front end is React or Angular, because they are from the different technologies, right? React and Angular are JavaScript technologies. How to integrate that with the Spring Boot application, that also we need to see, right? And the scopes, very common interview question. There are 4 scopes: singleton, prototype, request, session. They'll ask in the interview about the 4 scopes. In detail, you should know about the scopes concepts. Actuators, very commonly asked question. You should be knowing about it, right? So we are going to understand about that also. Postman tool and Swagger tool, both we are going to see. Swagger UI and Postman tool. Okay. About that also, you should be having a good idea about it. WebSockets are subjective, not required. If there is a need, I can just try to show you the demonstration of it. Okay. Because it is not every project needs. Spring batch processing, how to process the bulk data. Batch application using the Spring batch module. Spring AOP, real use of AOP, global exception handling, how to handle the exceptions for the APIs. Spring security. Spring security normal configuration. CSRF token, token-based authentication, which is JWT, OAuth. About that also we need to see. How to secure your APIs is what the concept is. Okay. Reactive programming, no, Anjish. I'll not discuss it because it is again not needed. 98% or 97% of the project don't uses that. Okay. Maybe I am coming up with the Udemy course on reactive programming. I will share you the free link. All my learners can watch it. Okay. I will not charge anything from all of you. It is in the recording stage. I can teach if there is a need arises in the live class also. Okay. Now, AWS, no, Zara. AWS is something I need 6 months to teach you. AWS is a different technology, right? Are you understanding? DevOps is a different technology. But Docker, Jenkins also I'll try to record. Docker is already recorded. It is available. Jenkins I'm recording. Maybe in the next 2 months, I'll try to upload the Jenkins video also. Okay. Then we have to start. JUnit videos are already there in your course dashboard. Please watch it. In our API, I will use JUnit. I'll expect that all who are watching, they already know JUnit. You have to watch the videos. I will use the JUnit in my REST APIs to test the API which we are developing. Unit testing of our APIs using JUnit 5. There I will discuss the concept of mocking with Mockito framework. How to perform unit testing of normal unit, you will see in this videos only. But I will teach you how to test a unit which is a REST API. That too, we are using the mocking Mockito also. Okay, that also we have to see. That is also important. Okay, working with Spring Boot and Apache Kafka, very, very important. We have to discuss that also. Anywhere you can learn JavaScript is also needed for that. JavaScript was Naveen sir videos. It is available in the Telesco YouTube channel. React, I will ask Naveen sir because for one of the batch, we had given the surprise free course on React, fast track refresher of the React course. If the videos are available, I will ask Naveen sir to upload in your course dashboard. Okay. It will be uploaded after some classes of this thing, Spring Girish. Then microservices we have to understand. In the microservice API gateway, we have to understand. Eureka server, which is service registry, we have to understand. Cloud config server, you have to understand. You have to understand about the Zipkin server. You have to understand about the admin server. You have to understand about the Fing client, usage of the Fing client, right? So many things you have to understand in the microservices as well. And then we can conclude this course. Yeah. All of you. So that is our flow, guys. But the flow, I hope I have told you, but the prerequisite is strong knowledge of Java, strong knowledge of Spring framework. From tomorrow onwards, can I treat everyone as a Spring Boot developers? Can I use no SP? And I hope JWT and OR2 is as well. Yes, Daniel, that is important. Token based authentication is very important, Daniel. I cannot escape that. Guys, so from tomorrow, I will consider all of you as Spring Boot developers and Java developers. Our discussion will be with developers, not with the freshers. Can I treat everyone as a Java and Spring Boot developers from tomorrow onwards, guys? I mean, not tomorrow, on Mondays, next class onwards. Of course, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, there is a holiday, next class onwards. So I will talk to only Spring Framework developers. No, Sachin. See, like that, guys, you are asking so many associated concepts. Like that, there are so many things where, according to me, I need 1 year of time. We have a time constraint also, right? Within 3 months, I have to complete everything also. I hope you are able to understand. See, one of the batch 2 years back in one institute with Navin sir I have worked, I had trained design patterns for 57 classes. Now, according to me, I need 2 months of time to teach design pattern completely. So that's a different course according to me, right? So yeah. So guys, so basically from tomorrow or next class onwards, auto white, qualifier, primary, service, repository, configuration, controller, all of these annotations by default, you should be knowing it, like ecosystem of the Spring framework. Whatever is new, I will only teach. Okay. So thank you so much, every one of you, for joining me and us in today's class. We shall meet Monday and continue the journey of Spring Boot framework as per the roadmap which I have shown to every one of you. Okay. Spring Boot class 1 board work. Okay. So we shall meet Monday and continue the journey of Spring Boot framework. We will do that in live class. Okay. Akash. Many of them are asking us to start separate DevOps or design pattern batch. I'm busy. See, I'm not in the Udemy course. Have you seen me in Udemy? No. Navin sir has motivated me, helped me, and he has motivated me so much so that I will be uploading within 1 week. My first Udemy course is uploading. And within the next 30, 40 days, I'll be having 3 Udemy courses. I'm not sure how Udemy will be for me, but I am starting my journey on Udemy. And let's see if all of you guys supports if I get success there. Will you guys support me, guys, if I start Udemy? Do you think that I can do little something in the Udemy also? Or maybe Udemy is not for me? I'm not sure on this. I'm experimenting. Because it's very affordable for everyone, those who cannot afford the big courses. Guys, there was a time in 2021, 2020, I used to teach in one of the big edtech. The fees for Java development there was 1.5 lakh. And whatever Spring I'm teaching here, no, I used to teach 60% of that concept. Java and Spring, whatever I have taught to you guys, 60 or 65% of Java and Spring we have taught there. And the fees is 1.5 lakh. Okay. But this is affordable comparatively. But Udemy will be more affordable. Can you please once explain auto-word annotation by field, how it will work? Yeah, definitely we will discuss that in upcoming class, SP. There are 3, because field injection I have not shown in the Spring core, right? I will show it here. We will have all 3 options and we will show to you, okay? There are 3 major injections: field injection, setter injection, constructor injection. And bean lifecycle also you have to understand. So 2 more applications on Spring Boot before Spring Data JDBC. So in the Monday's class, we will see to it. All right, guys, that's all for today. Thank you so much for being with me in today's class. If you have any questions, I'm open for the questions, even if it is a silly question. You told get bin iGreetings interface, we have to give same class. It is like implementation of that interface. We have only one implementation of that interface. So it will work, Kington. What I was trying to say is, in place of this, if I give this, will it work is the question. I'll give here. I'll go back to my Spring Boot. I have told this. Will it work? If I have to run this application, is it working, Kington? So that is what I was trying to say. Both you can say, okay? We cannot create the object. We are not creating the object. Have we created the object here, SSP? I'm asking my Spring to give the implementation of that interface. Tell me, for this interface, is there any implementing class, SP? There is, right? So that implementing class bean only I'm creating here. Service I have applied to this class only, right? Did I apply service to this interface? No, right? I have applied to this class. So which it will create, right? If it is creating the implementation of this as per the runtime polymorphism concept, you can use this reference to invoke any of the implementing methods present inside this class. That is a runtime polymorphism, because of which it is allowing you. It is not it's just creating the reference. That's it, not the object. And as per the runtime polymorphism concept, using the parent type reference, you can invoke the methods, implementing methods present in the implementing class or the child class. Then it is an exception. Like we have seen in the last two classes, we have to go with qualifier and primary. It is auto wiring only. It is happening here. Manual auto wiring, you can say. Manually, I'm asking to give the bean. Automatic means automatic wiring. That's it. If we have multiple classes, the same interface will get the more than two error. Do we have a different way to do that? No, nothing. There also qualifier and primary, Kingdom. Qualifier and primary here also. Same application I've developed in the Mondays class and I will show you, okay? Whatever we have seen there, no? Same we will do in the Spring Boot also. Before I go to the Spring JDBC, guys, I will discuss 2 or 3 applications in the Spring Boot, okay? Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for joining me in today's class. Is there a way to use all the asking? Is there a way to we can remember the use all this orientation? No, Rohit. By default, you'll understand. As and when we develop the application. Example, do you need to remember how to create a class in Java? Do you need to remember that, Rohit? Like how to create a class or object in Java? So because you have done that so many times, similarly, these annotations for 3 months every day, if you use, you'll not need it to be remembered. I hope you are able to understand. Some of the less used annotations you may have to recall. Apart from that, the basic 15-20 annotations are there. There you are going to use every day, no? So you will not be having that you will forget. It will be there by default in your mind. I have imported the project. I am using Java 8 after importing, getting the error in the pom.xml. Uh, don't import directly. I suggest you to create the project and check. Keep the code files as a reference. Guys, most of them are trying to import the project and running. If it is running, it is there stopping it. See, getting the output is not the end goal. Sometimes we may not get output. I may not get the output. See, getting the output is not the end goal. The first end goal is to learn the things for which you have to code. And I want you to, whatever code files I'm sharing, no, keep that as a reference. Keep that as a reference. And you manually create the project, you manually code it. If needed, you just copy paste and see the things how works. Will AWS become easy once we complete this course? That is subjective, Suresh. But you will get the basic clarity, the purpose, and how things work. You will get that clarity. Learning AWS will be different, but learning AWS without having the knowledge on development, learning DevOps in AWS without the clarity of development, and learning after the clarity of development, there will be a strong difference. That difference you can feel. Can you please show once config class? Yes, Ganesh. All right. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me in today's class. We shall meet Monday exactly at 7 a.m. Indian Standard Time and continue the discussion on Spring Boot topic. Make sure in the 2 days of weekend, if you have time, please do watch JDBC Hibernate videos, if at least in 1.5x speed, and complete it. Thank you for joining me in today's class again. Thank you, every one of you.